Hello, Lisa here. Welcome to my channel, or welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing the next part in my 2022 Tarot and Oracle deck, my just deck collection series, where I'm going through all of my decks from A to Z. I am doing my tarot collection from letters E through L today, so we've got a lot of decks. Let's get right into it. So the first deck I want to talk about today, and starting with the letter E, is the Ellis deck. This is such a great tarot. It's really unique. I don't think there's really anything else quite like it. Let me zoom you in, and we'll probably stay zoomed in so you can see the cards. The Ellis deck has this really cool, kind of dingy fantasy world. There's a ton of excellent symbology through the cards, but the world itself is just really interesting. You really get a strong feeling for each suit. The swords all have these crows. The wands have these kitsune sort of creatures. The cups, or the pentacles, have these kind of like, I don't know what you want to call them, woodlandy kind of creatures. And the cups have mer people. And it's if you really sink into this artwork, you will find so many things to look at, which I really appreciate about this. I don't reach for it nearly as much as I should, but I really genuinely love it. And I find that it's really unique. I love this Hierophant where he's sitting on all of these books. I love that. So that is the Ellis deck. Next up is the Enchanted Tarot. Now this is the 25th, I guess this is the anniversary edition. Comes with this like stretchy velvet bag. It is kind of an awkward shaped deck. This is a really beautiful deck, and it feels like an important part of tarot history. But to be honest, other than looking through it and admiring its beauty, I don't ever feel like this is one I want to use in a reading. But the guidebook is really excellent. Really excellent. And I just wish that I was drawn to it more because it's gorgeous, and I was so excited to get it in, but to be honest, I haven't even bothered to put it in a proper Peggy bag. As I mentioned, you guys know Peggy, my wife, he makes all my bags and stuff, and I just never even bothered to give this like a permanent home, which is kind of telling actually, because I always move the decks that I'm intending to keep long term into one of those. But I think it's likely that my time with this deck just is probably done. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to put it in my to be under consideration, you know, for this or that, or to rehome or declutter. I'm going to put it in the basket with the other decks I'm considering not keeping, and we'll see how I feel. But yeah, it is really beautiful. It's all like this embroidered, textured, like gorgeous artwork, but I it's got like, it just feels fancy. I don't know about this one, but it is beautiful. It's not that I don't know about it. It's just that I don't know if it's meant to stay with me. This stretchy old school velvet bag is giving me all the feels though. Here's another one. You know how they have that saying, like, your eyes are bigger than your stomach? You know, when you go out to eat and you like order way more because you think you're really hungry, and then you get it and you're like, actually, that was too much food. That's a little bit like how I feel about some of these. Like, this is one that I love the idea of it, and I envisioned using it, and I really thought I would, but I haven't at all. I really got this for magical work, because it's based on the idea of like a witch's ladder. So you can like pick your cards and you can tangle them together, and you can use it as a crystal grid, and you can do all these cool things with it. And all the things that are like on each card that look like they're sort of attached or like woven on are all symbolic of that card's meaning. Like, look at the keys with the Hierophant and the little bishop chess piece, the car for the chariot. It's a really, really, really clever and innovative concept. But this has just sat and sat and sat, and I just never reach for it. So I think my thing is, when I'm using tarot correspondences for magical work, I have a tendency to reach for Danny's Mystic Masters Tarot, which will show up in my M when I get to the M's. But this one just ends up languishing. And so, and again, here's another one where I never got a permanent home. So this is also going in my maybe pile to see if it's going to stay or not. Okay, disclaimer for the next one. This next one is a Sexy Times deck. I'm not going to agonize about which cards I'm showing you. Even the bag is Sexy Times. So this is not for little eyes. If you need to pause or skip this, fast forward a bit to the next deck, please do that. Warning over. Here we go. So this is the Erotic Tarot Intimate Intuition. I freaking love this fabric. I actually made Peggy buy this for me just for this deck because it's so spot on. It's so perfect. This is a fantastic Sexy Times deck, and it's the only one I need or want for Sexy Times readings. I don't do a lot of those, but I do enjoy being able to do those. This is a pip deck. It's racy, but it has a tastefulness to it. It's also incredibly sort of sex positive in general. So it doesn't it feels very inclusive in a very interesting way that you wouldn't normally see in like a Sexy Times deck. I just think, and this one has super warped cardstock too. I mean, to be honest, I mean, I'm not very nice to the Boo Tarot's cardstock, but this one warps really easy too. It's just that this one was also like $12 or something. Like it was really, really cheap. So it's kind of cardboardy. It kind of feels like the kind of cardstock you'd get like, I was about to say like on a cereal box, but that's really mean. It's not that bad. It's just basic. It's a basic cardstock. It doesn't feel like it has a core in it. But for Sexy Times readings, this is just perfect. I really enjoy it. And the guidebook actually gives you readings or meanings that you can use in relationships or in Sexy Times kind of questions. And I think it does a really good job. So that is the Erotic Tarot, Intimate Intuition. The Everyday Witch. The Everyday Witch Tarot is a favorite. I have had this copy for ages. I feel like everybody bought this deck because of Imogen Walters, who I miss so much. But she used to have a really great tarot channel, and I loved watching her videos. But, oh, I never zoomed in. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I thought I was zoomed in. Anyway, The Everyday Witch is such a classic in my collection. I love reading with it. I enjoy the artwork. I really enjoy Deborah Blake, her writing, and I love Elizabeth Alba. Elizabeth Alba. Oh my gosh. Elizabeth Alba's artwork I adore. So I love this deck. I know this deck backwards and forwards. It's a very comfortable, kind of homey sort of deck for that reason. I'm just super comfortable with all the images. So I actually did pick up, or no, I was sent actually by Deborah Blake. I was sent this little mini, and this one actually lives in my purse. I had to go get it out of my purse to show it to you guys because it's just the perfect size for having a tarot deck on hand in my purse. It's so little, but it's the exact same thing. It's just a little version, one of these little teeny mini decks. And I love having a deck this size in my purse in case I ever want to do like a full tarot reading. And having such a homey, comfy deck to do that with is just really great. So I always have a tarot deck close at hand, and it's this one. The Fantastical Creatures Tarot. This has been so much fun to work with. I really enjoy using it. I enjoy the little white book that came with this deck. This is a Lisa Hunt tarot. I just think it's really beautiful. And I feel like I learn a little something when I work with it. I love sinking into this artwork, but Lisa Hunt's artwork is really spectacular. And I feel like this is the Lisa Hunt deck that I have the most potential to bond with really closely over the long term, but I'm always on the hunt for something that she's done that I can really, really connect strongly with. Not a fan of the way this unicorn is illustrated, but y'all know I have opinions about unicorns. But I think this is really cool because every single card is attached to a particular creature or myth. So here in the Page of Wands, for example, we have Circe, which is awesome. In the Seven of Wands, and it tells you Valkyries. I just think it's really cool. I think this is a fun deck, and I enjoy it. I don't have a lot that do this. In fact, the one that this goes kind of head-to-head up against, really, is the 78 Tarot Mythical, if I'm being honest. But I think I'd be more likely to use this than the 78 Tarot. Look at these little Nomi guys. I love them. Yeah, I like this one. I think this one's safe for now. The Forest of Enchantment Tarot is such a special deck. This is by Linnea Weatherstone and Marilla Allwood. This is like the Llewellyn fairy tale tarot of our dreams, right? Like it's just, hopefully I don't have too much glare there. It's absolutely beautiful. It's fairy tale-like. Some of these cards reference specific stories, but many don't. Many are more general, and that generalness makes this, I think, even more usable because you're not so locked into particular stories for every single card. But the vibe of this is fairy tale forest. I mean, Marilla's artwork is, it's something very, very special. Like she paints these at this size or smaller, and her artwork is so intensely detailed. It's spectacular. That card's upside down. I really love this. It's a very, very special deck, and I'm so glad I have it. So that one's safe. I never did edge this. I really should at some point. It really should be in like a small Peggy bag, but I have this one with this gorgeous embroidered tree, and so it's just ended up living in here. The Fortuna Tarot. I have the Amethyst Aura edition, and I think this is a really beautiful sigil-based deck. This is another one where I feel like if I was wanting to do magical work with the tarot, I feel like this would be such an excellent choice. It's a gorgeous pip deck with holographic foiling. There is another color variation of this deck out now called the Opal Aura, I believe. or something along that, opal something. It's pastel and kind of pinky, and I really love that colorway too. But this rainbow holographic against this dark purple background is pretty special. It's neat because there's sigils here, but the sigils really do make sense. So this one's really gorgeous. There's also a emerald green version of this deck, which I believe I gave away on the channel some time ago. But this purple one is very pretty. So there's a lot of astrological references in this deck. The creator, Maria, really does a lot of astrological work. So like the guidebook in this is literally nothing to sneeze at. There's a lot here about the astrological, and I feel like there's the Thoth references in here as well. So that's pretty exciting. The Fountain Tarot has certainly stood the test of time in my collection. I do feel like these days I tend to reach for other things. So I do sometimes wonder if this will stay long term, but I feel like it's such a part now of my tarot history that I couldn't see completely parting with it. It is a pretty astounding deck. I recently did a deep dive. There's just a lot you can see in these images, and it's always been a steadfast reader. This would be another one that I would class as a more masculine deck alongside the Druidcraft Tarot. And I think it's really neat to have decks like this. This also feels very sort of clean and practical and grounded in a way that a lot of my other decks don't necessarily feel, which is funny because there is a lot of light and sort of spirit in this deck. But, ooh, look at me making a big old mess. It is a really good deck, the Fountain Tarot. The Game of Thrones Tarot. This was the deck that brought Danny and Dustin and I together. This show, the deck... Love this. This is the original edition that has a linen cardstock, and this was, I'm pretty sure this was my first linen deck. There was something about the whistle that just got us, right? Like, I don't think any of my other linen decks quite feel that way. Like, they're close, but they're not the same. And this is so special. This is the kind of deck that even if I never ever read with it again, and it is really cool to read with, but even if I never read with it again, this is such an important part of my, again, my tarot story, my tarot YouTube story, the way that it brought me and Danny and Dustin together. It has a lot of special memories, and I think it's pretty great. It's also, honestly, my favorite, nope, second favorite, I lied, my second favorite ever pop culture tarot deck. It was just really well done. You could tell it was created with really wanting to portray the energy of this show, and it's pretty great. The little hardbound book that it comes with is really hard to read in some places. It's tiny little text, but it's a really good little guidebook too. So that is my Game of Thrones Tarot. The Gentle Heart Tarot is brand new to my collection. I have not yet worked with it much or at all. I can't remember now. Have I worked with this at all yet? It does have a real sweet, calming, sort of gentle feel. I picked this up at Northwest Tarot Symposium. It's got this pink and brown and white vibe. I do feel like it sits in direct competition with my Penelope's Tarot, which will come up in the piece. But it is cool. I'm still kind of on the fence, to be completely honest, but mine is still in order. I haven't even worked with it. How bad is that? I've got to try and make some time to really work with it and see how I feel. But I'm leaning towards this may not have been the best one for me. But it is really pretty. And to be honest, it was all the pink and this gilding that got me. And even the guidebook was gilded. I know. It's not necessarily, it wasn't the smartest decision, but man, and I also really loved that the inside of the box says, I am loved, I am worthy. You know what? Let me just see. Hold on. I'm just curious. Let me just split the deck in a random spot. Of course, I got the Ace of Cups, and let's just see what it says. And like, maybe the guidebook's really especially good, and I need to give it a shot here. Here are the cups. It starts with diamonds? Why, though? Are cups last? Okay, there we go. What a time to be alive. The Ace of Cups indicates new beginnings on an emotional level, such as a new romantic relationship or friendship. More of your emotions are being displayed as you feel safe to give yourself permission to be emotional and show yourself more love. Creative projects are benefiting from this period and you're experiencing an increase in abundance. I don't know. I think I'm going to actually put this in the maybe. I think that's pretty bad considering I just got it. But this was an impulse purchase. I knew it at the time. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. I'm going to pop it into the maybe and we'll see where we end up with it later. Now the Gentle Tarot, on the other hand, I have a whole love affair with this deck. I have 2 copies of this. I have the full size and I have the little pocket edition, which is so freaking cute. I haven't used it yet. I really want to. This tin is so satisfying to use. I just really love it. It has a really nice click, like a secure like latch to it, which I love. I also have the big full-size guidebook. I just didn't pull it out for this, but I have the big full-size guidebook for this. And it's incredible. I'm going to be using this even more, but this is just one of those decks that is so, it's exactly what it says on the tin. It's gentle, it's loving, it's supportive, it's calming. It feels like a cozy, it feels like a cozy deck. I don't know how else to describe it. Even the cardstock feels cozy, this full-size version. It feels just so lovely. Such a great little deck. It's not that little. I think it's slightly bigger. I think it's standard size. The guidebook that came with it, I think, is incredible. I love this guidebook so much. So, like, yeah, the bigger guidebook is even more exciting, but I feel like the original guidebook is, oh man, it's good. So that is the Gentle Tarot. Super safe in my collection, for sure. I love it. The Ghosts and Spirits Tarot. Oh man, this one's really cool. It's really cool, and again, Lisa Hunt's artwork is incredible. Much like the mythical creatures tarot. What's this one called? Oh, Ghosts and Spirits, yeah. I was just going to say, what was the other one? Oh, Fantastical Creatures. Much like I was like, we haven't gotten to M yet. What am I thinking? Much like the Fantastical Creatures, you get a story or a little tidbit about a different sort of spirit in every card, and it's absolutely beautiful to look at. But to be completely fair, I feel like between this one and Fantastical Creatures, I just love Fantastical Creatures even more. This brings a little bit of dark, and I think that's awesome. I think we need that. It brings some real intense vibes, but even when it came to October, I just did not pull this out, and I really, I want to be called to it, and I'm just not being called to it, but man, it is so beautiful. To me, it's more like which theme speaks to you more, or do you like them both? And for me, the Fantastical Creatures theme just speaks to me more, and I feel like if I try to get to know them both, I won't end up getting to know either. Gosh, I love Lisa Hunt's artwork so much, though. So much. But I think this one's going to have to go into the maybe bin because I don't know that it's really meant to stay with me. So that is the Ghosts and Spirits Tarot. The Good Karma Tarot. I love this deck. This is such a great little all-rounder. If you're looking for like an inexpensive, like, mine's in order because I was just using it for troubleshooting the tarot live stream that I was doing. This is like modern and fresh and kind of diverse, and it's really affordable, and I think it would be a great teen deck. It does feel very young, which is the only downside as far as I'm concerned. It's glossy, it's modern, it's diverse, it's fun, it's inclusive feeling, but it is very young. There's like nobody with gray hair like anywhere in here, I don't think, which is kind of a bummer, but I feel like this would just be such a great beginner's deck, such a great deck for anybody just getting started. Like that person has like white hair, but they still look really young. Yeah. That's the one thing. Love this Temperance card. I will keep this deck forever and ever because of this Temperance card. I freaking love it. Yeah, I love this. But yeah, it does have a bit of a young feeling, but I love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And this one blew me away because I really thought it was going to be silly and whatever. I think it was put on by an editor of Cosmo or something. Like, yeah, but it's great. I love it. The Guardian Angel Tarot, this is out of print. This was a Doreen Virtue Radley Valentine deal, and now when I got it, it was just Radley Valentine. I trimmed mine, literally copied a Don Michelle mod and trimmed the gilding off and then edged it in pastel colors, and I just love how it turned out. This is the deck that I've used the most as a bedtime deck, as like just a gentle hug, reflect before I go to bed on my day, like think about, get an encouraging message. It feels like grandma in a deck of cards. I feel like a lot of us say the same kind of thing about this deck because it does feel that way to so many of us who use it. It does speak about angels. I don't think it speaks a whole lot about God. I could be wrong about that, but there's something about the vibe of this that I just genuinely find it so loving and encouraging, and I like that it's low effort, right? Like if I'm going to pull a card before bed, it's nice to have like a message right on the card. And I love that about this deck. So that is the Guardian Angel Tarot. My copy says it's by Radley Valentine, but I know that Doreen Virtue's name was on the older versions of this deck. The Happy Tarot. This is so cute. I love using this for inner child readings. I reach for it a lot for client inner child connection readings that I do. I think it does a really good job of like connecting to the inner child, but showing a lot of emotion, showing a lot of intensity. Even though it's called the Happy Tarot, you definitely see difficult emotions happening in this card. It's not like every card is happy like this. Like a lot of them are contemplative or calm or playful or sad or worried. You get a lot of emotion on the surface. I would say it leans a little more happy, especially with all the bright colors. The use of light and everything being shiny just really gets me. I love it. And all the candy is super fun. So it is a fun inner child deck. I used to have a different copy of this that I had trimmed. And then I repurchased it so that I could have this slightly bigger borderless version that you can now get mass market. It's a low Scarabeo deck. And it's great. I love it. Next up, this is another deck that gets vied over, or people vie for. I don't know what word I was trying to use there. Anyways, the Healing Waves Tarot, I got really wrapped up in this when it was first on Indiegogo. It wasn't getting any traction. I like reached out to the creator. I stuck my nose in everybody's business. I just really wanted it to be printed. It did get printed, yay. But the creator only ever intended to print it once. It printed once and then she was done. I love this deck. And you know what? When I look at this, I realize that maybe the Dame Darcy Mermaid isn't meant to stay after all. Because I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, this is my summer deck. This one is. I feel like I get more out of this deck than I get out of the Dame Darcy. Do I get more out of this deck than I get out of the Atlantis Tarot? I don't know. I really love this, though. I love it. It feels like summer beach vibes. Yeah, I feel like I might like this more than I like the Dame Darcy Mermaid. Is that, like, terrible? I don't know. I think for now they're both going to be safe, but it is something that I'm mulling at the moment. Hello? Is there? There was a card at the bottom. It was stuck. It was stuck. Anyway, the Healing Waves. This one, yeah, I'm afraid you'll have to keep your eyes out on eBay and such because it is out of print. But it's beautiful. This is also an out of print deck. Apologies. This is the Hilda Tarot, the gingham edition. I don't want to be too hasty to let this one go, but I have considered it a few times. Not because it's not delightful, because it's delightful. It's another real summer vibe deck. I guess it's not always summer vibe, but kind of, because she's always really scantily clad. But then there's scenes like that that are so wintry and cozy. I mean, it's Hilda. Like, if you know Hilda, if you know, you know. You know what I'm saying? It's really special. I don't really use it, though. And I think it's because it features just this, like, one character. But it's so fun and playful. And I don't know if I'd be able to bring myself to let it go. So I feel like this kind of sits in the collector space for me for now. I considered finding different ways to use it, and I tried those things, but none of them ever really felt quite right. It is on a beautiful linen cardstock, and I do think the creator does reprint this every now and then, because that's how I got this in the first place. It had been out of print for a long time, and then the creator did a new print run of this gingham edition. I feel like she's done one. Has she done one print run since then? I can't remember. But it is a delightful little deck, and Peggy specially cut this fabric at an angle for me, so I'd have the gingham pattern for my small Peggy bag. Yeah, this is safe for now. Next up, the Intuitive Night Goddess Tarot. This is really unique, and I love it for that unique quality that it brings. I like that a lot of the major arcana cards have been renamed. I like the goddessy feel of this. In some ways, I feel like this is more readable and more usable than, say, the Dark Goddess Tarot is. It feels really unique in the space. There's a sort of solitary quality to this. You never see more than one character on a card at a time. You do have, like, animal companions and things, but you don't ever see, like, two people together. But I really like the play on words that is done through the majors for the keyword changes. Reclamation for the Devil card is, I think, really super interesting and empowering. It's a really lovely deck for doing readings for myself. It's another one, though, that I don't really use to read for other people. I've done member readings with it, and it was really nice, but I just find that I get just really lovely readings when I read for myself. The guidebook is black with white text, which is super interesting. It's a really kind of boring to look at guidebook. Like, it's not laid out very special. There's no thumbnail images, but the messages do tend to be really good in here. Yeah, I think this one is safe for now. The Intuitive Night Goddess. Ah, the Joie de Vivre. So funny enough, this one I think is in jeopardy. For no other reason than that there is another Paulina deck that I think I like just a little bit more in my collection. Is it coming up in this? No, it's coming up in the next video, I think. So this is going to go into the maybe. It's got a very like circus-y kind of vibe, the Joie de Vivre. It feels a little bit like we could be at a circus. It's really playful and colorful. I do like the vibrancy of it, and I spent some good quality time with this deck and really bonded and got to know it really well. But since that, that was a really cool experience, but since then I haven't reached for it, and I don't know. I've thought about it before and kind of decided to keep it, but I think this time I might not make the cut. We will see. I'm going to put it in my maybe deck. It is in my maybe bin. It's a really, really beautiful deck. I definitely recommend it. It's just one that I'm like not reaching for a lot. So we'll see. The Kawaii Tarot. This is also one. I have done some really fun readings with this. It's a good one for inner child work. But I gotta be honest, this is so freaking cute. But like, it feels so... It reads really well, so that's not the issue. It's almost so busy that it feels kind of chaotic. And to be honest, as cute and adorable and fun, all the fat unicorns, they're everything. I love them so much. But it's so much. It almost overloads me. It feels a little bit like a sensory overload, a little bit. So such a cute Two of Cups. If all the cards were illustrated more like this, it might be okay. But like even the scenery is full of patterns, almost Zentangle-like. It's just it's busy in a way that makes it almost hard for me to focus. Like cards like this, like look at the difference. Like this card, I feel like is beautiful. This card is pretty too, but there's just so much going on. And when I have more than a few cards on the table, it gets really overwhelming really quickly for me. It's so freaking cute, but it's almost overdone cute, you know? And I do have a coloring book that this artist did. So I feel like if I can just enjoy the art without necessarily keeping this as a tarot. So I'm not letting it go yet, but it is going to go in that maybe to go away bin that I've got next to me. So we will see. I will keep y'all posted, but this is under consideration to leave my collection. But that bag though, it's okay. I'll find something else super cute to go in the bag. It'll be okay. All right. Okay. Confession time. So I did decide not to keep this, and it went into my purgatory drawer, and then it came back out because it's just so special. And it's one of those things that I think I've just made peace with the fact that I just want to collect it. I just want to have it. I don't really read with it. But I freaking love getting it out and doing exactly what I'm doing right now. Just like flipping through the cards and looking at it. This is the La Corte de Tarocchi. The shape of the cards is so stinking interesting. The illustrations on it are really sweet. It feels like something I could have found in like an attic that's like a couple of 100 years old or something. I don't know. There's something so incredible about it. I love it. I love it. I just could not bring myself to let it go. I'm like, there's no amount of money that somebody could offer me that I'd be like, yeah, okay, I shouldn't say that. It's probably not technically true. I got to be honest with myself here. But like, I just realized, sometimes I don't realize until I actually think about like selling it or trading it or rehoming it or whatever. Sometimes I don't realize that I'm super attached to something until I do that. But I mean, it does look really cool out on the table. I just really need to make a point to get it out and use it more. But I think I've come to terms with the fact that even if I don't get it out and actually use it more, like it's hand cut, it's all uneven and everything, then I just want to have it. And that's fine. There's a few decks like that in my collection. This is one of them. I'm okay with it. It's really stinking cool and I like it. End of story. So it's staying. La Corte de Tarocchi. Could there be a deck much safer in my collection than the last Unicorn Tarot? This was my first ever Kickstarter deck, and it took forever. It did come in this gorgeous box though, so I mean, you know, there were perks. There were perks to the waiting, but geez. It comes in this, well, it did come. Now you have to buy all these things extra, but the Kickstarter, it came. There's this beautiful faux leather, I said faux, F-A-U-X leather in a video once, and somebody left me this like really intense comment because they thought I'd said faux, F-O-A-L leather. No, fake leather, faux, fake leather. Vegan leather, or however you want to say that. Anyways, It's really a beautiful guidebook. You get full color. It's on like a parchment looking paper with a ribbon bookmark. It's just really beautiful. We have a signed card from Peter S. Beagle. There's an alternative lovers card. I was one of the Kickstarter backers when they introduced this card as the lovers. Oh, I should zoom us back in. When they introduced this card as the lovers, I was like, no, that. I had such a problem with it. I was like, oh, please don't let that be the lovers card. And a lot of people got not upset because it's a great fan moment for the movie, but for a tarot reader, this is like, it feels very compulsory and like non-consensual because like in the movie, it really is. Anyways, so they did do a different lovers card and this became the alternate. It's a fun scene. It's just not one I want for my lovers card. And then we have this really special signed Peter S. Beagle card. Anyway, I'm a huge fan of The Last Unicorn. The story by Peter S. Beagle, the movie, I'm hugely, hugely fangirl over this. This is my personal fandom. And this is such a beautifully done fan tribute to this story and these characters. Geekify did this deck. It is really expensive to buy. The quality of this deck is out of this world. It's rose petal. It's got all this beautiful gold on it. It's really stunning. I do think it's worth it. It reads like a dream if you know the Last Unicorn story really well, which I do. So it reads really well for me, and I love that about it. It is gorgeous, and I love it, and I'm so grateful to have it. I think I do need to change this back out, though. The book does need to go on top. Yeah, that's better. Then my cards don't wiggle around as much. So beautiful. Love this. It's going nowhere. The Legacy of the Divine Tarot. This is another sort of almost, I keep it just to have it. I don't really use it anymore, but this was one of my first really, I guess I would have called it a traditional tarot. It's not really, but it's based on the Rider-Waite-Smith. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith-ish, but all done in Ciro Marchetti's artwork. It's really good. It's a good deck. I know these images really, really well because I used it so much and for so long, but it isn't one I really reach for. It's just, I think, a really big part of my tarot story. So it's a deck that I can't really bring myself to let go of, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It also has, all of Ciro's decks to me also have a bit of a masculine vibe, so that could be another one that could work for people who are looking for a deck with that kind of energy, but love it. The Light Seers Tarot, this actually may be at risk in my collection. Probably not. I've had this deck for forever. I did have the original Kickstarter version, but I actually traded it out. Like, not directly traded. I rehomed it. And then I ended up getting the mass market version because I was so afraid to use the indie version. This was one of those decks that got so much hype around it that the Kickstarter version started to feel just too precious to use, and so I let it go. And it may sound counterintuitive, but I really wanted to use it, and I have used the absolute heck out of this deck. I mean, when I look at this, I think I have other decks now that I reach for in the same circumstances where I would have reached for this one, but this is a really, really beautifully illustrated deck. I don't like this Page of Cups. It bugs the crap out of me. It's a personal opinion thing, but most of these images I really, really love. This deck also does tend to feel a little bit young, which is, it's gotten that criticism a lot. But in a lot of ways, it was really revolutionary. And I love like this Hierophant with the sort of gateway or the staircase to heaven behind that character. I love that. It's a very easy to read with deck, and I love that too. So yeah, I think it's just more like it's kind of in retirement sort of right now than anything. But yeah, I don't think it's really at risk. I don't know that I could bring myself to actually let it go because it's such a good reader, but I've just been using a lot of other things lately, so it's probably just a mood thing at the moment. The Little Odd Tarot. This is actually a prototype copy. I think there is a version that went on to Kickstarter that would be this similar one, but this one was printed on a linen cardstock. The actual Kickstarter version came out and was a much thicker cardstock with a really pretty edging, but I just love a good linen deck. This is a fun tarot, and as black and white tarot decks go, I think this one is so, so good. Admittedly, I don't know if this creator ever did a color version. I was going to say I'd buy it, but then I'm like, but would I, or am I now kind of attached to this as like my personal black and white deck? And I think I might be kind of attached to this as my black and white deck. It's really fun. It's easy for me to read with. I enjoy it. It's unique. It's great. The Little Odd Tarot. I really enjoy this. It feels cartoonish in a fun way, but I love the way the cards are illustrated. It's good. It's really good. It's really good. All right, so I like the little odd tarot quite a bit. The Llewellyn Tarot, I've almost rehomed this a bunch of times, but like it's another one that I've had for so long. I have it trimmed. This is one of Peggy's mini pocket pouches. It's so cute in here. It fits perfectly once it's trimmed. The original comes with like these huge borders. This is on the old Llewellyn cardstock, my copy too. Fully trimmed down, and I used a brown fine tip marker to note the number and the element on the minors, or like K for king and the elemental symbol for, you know, the court cards. And then I wrote the major arcana titles and their numbers on. This actually reads really well, and the artwork is beautiful. This is an Anne-Marie Ferguson deck, I think. Maybe don't quote me on that. I'm not entirely sure. I'm doing that from memory, so, you know, I could get it wrong. The artwork on this is really beautiful, and every time I kind of think about rehoming it, I end up not. I should use it way more than I do, though, because it is so beautiful, and it looks great on the table, and it's a good size for larger spreads. So hopefully just keeping it with my other pocket size or poker size decks, I will eventually use it more. Like this star card is so gorgeous. Yeah, this is really beautiful. It's really beautiful. Okay, well, it's pretty safe still. But there was a time when I was like, oh, I can't keep this. I never use it. But it's fun. And I've had it for a very long time. So yeah, that's the Llewellyn Tarot. Trimmed down, of course. The Lucid Dreams Beginner Tarot. This was fun for me for a while. It is, I think, a really beautiful, elegant beginner's tarot. Like a lot of times beginner's tarot are kind of blah. It's not the case necessarily, but this just feels really lovely. It's got a gorgeous image with all this gold foil detailing on it, and then it's got upright and reversed keywords, which is great for a learning deck, I think, if you're interested in learning the upright and reversed. It's a really elegant, luxurious version of a beginner's deck. Not to say it's only a beginner's deck, but if you just want a deck you can read right out of the box using the keywords, this is a good one. You know what I used this for actually was for Peggy developed a role-playing game using tarot. We call it Role-Playing the Tarot, and we've done games. I used this a lot for role-playing the tarot, but to be honest, that is literally the only thing I've ever wanted to use it for. And I've had no desire to like trim the keywords off, but this would make a really good like training wheels kind of deck where you use it for a long time. And then when you're ready, you trim the keywords off because all the titles are in here on the image itself. So you could trim it down to just the artwork and have a really beautiful little pocket deck. I'm kind of tempted to see what that would be like, but I'm not sure how this cardstock would trim. It's a linen-y kind of feeling, but I don't know. But I do have reversal shuffled in because I was using it for that role-playing game. I do think this one is a maybe not stay in my collection. It also never really got a permanent Peggy bag home. I did have a bag it was in for a bit, but I ended up giving it to a different deck. So this has kind of been like roaming around as like a tool, but not one I ever want to use for readings. So that's going in my to be considered for declutter bin. And lastly, we have the Luminous Void Tarot. Not lastly in my collection, just lastly in the D through L or E through L we were doing today. So the Luminous Void is really spectacular. I really like how this deck, this is the shuffle size or edition. It's a little easier to shuffle than the original, which was bigger. So it was a repurchase for me. There's something about this artwork that makes it really intuitive for me to work with. It kind of gets me away from the stereotypical tarot meanings and kind of gets me into my third eye. It's really hard to describe how it does that, but it does do it. It's a very messy, bizarre kind of art style that just, it's kind of borderline kind of creepy in some of these cards, like kind of sometimes really creepy looking, but it just kind of gets me out of my head. But I don't reach for it a ton. It's just so unique. This is another one that I could see myself maybe even just keeping as a collector item. I love the shape of it, which shouldn't matter, but whenever I've needed to just really get out of my brain with tarot, this is one that I tend to reach for in that situation, so that's really helpful. That is the Luminous Void Tarot. All right, you guys, that is it for E through L. In my next installment of my 2022 A to Z Tarot collection, I will be doing M through, is it just M through P? No. Yeah, it's just M through P. I have a lot of M's and P's, apparently. So I will see you in that one. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. An extra big thank you goes out to the Unicorn fam for helping to support what I do here in such a tangible way. It means so much. To all of you watching, thank you for spending your time here. I do not take that for granted, and I genuinely appreciate your likes and your comments and your bells and your subscribes and all that stuff. It really sustains this work. So thank you so much. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye!